Hey there, it's Sunday morning, and I didn't put out a main channel video this morning, and that's because the project that I was working on is not done yet. It might be done for next weekend. At least I hope it will be. It should be. And it's the banquette that I talked about in the last video, I'm pretty sure. That's a bench in my kitchen / dining area, right in the corner of the room. I started working on it and got about halfway through it, and then I got distracted with another smaller project that I wanted to get finished before I finished the banquette because I wanted it in the picture. And this is another idea that I've had for several years, and that was to build a fake window in the wall behind the banquette. And I did that, and I made a couple of short videos that went on Patreon and locals for my supporters there. That's the only place that's going to show up. I'm not going to release those to the public. But the banquette build will be made into a public video that'll go on my main channel either next weekend or the weekend after. If you want to see those two videos on me installing that fake window, you'll have to sign up to Patreon or locals. There's a link in the description. That's the only place they're available to watch. So what do I mean when I say that becoming a YouTuber has killed my love of woodworking? Well, it really hasn't totally killed it, but what it's done is mostly knocked the fun out of it. As in, whenever I start a project, I've got to be mindful of the fact that I'm supposed to be filming it to make a video from. So it kind of stops me from doing some things that I want to do at the time I want to do them, because I have to go that extra step. And it's not just one step, okay? It's like a whole list of steps that go along with that aspect of it to do the woodworking. So if I want to concentrate on the woodworking, it's very difficult because you're splitting, like, the woodworking part of it for me is like the part that I have to kind of go through mindlessly while I worry about other things like filming, and then the editing afterwards, and then the promotion and all this other stuff that goes along with it. And keeping in mind, you need to get a good picture of it for the thumbnail at the end. And you're constantly thinking of titles that are going to work for it. So it's like it knocks all the fun out of the process of, the pure form of woodworking, at least the way it was for me before I started on YouTube. Because unlike a lot of other YouTubers that are in the woodworking space, I was actually a woodworker before I started on YouTube. I was a carpenter, actually a trained journeyman carpenter and a woodworker. I built lots of stuff. I was working in that field. Oh, I've been working in that field all of my adult life, actually, as a career. Started as a carpenter, really, and morphed into this over here. It's all a career doing the same thing, basically. But, the upsides of this is that I get to do it here at home. I don't have to drive long distances. That's also a downside, though, kind of, because I was way more productive, and I know some of this is a product of my age. I'm getting older. I don't have as much energy or motivation or enthusiasm as I did when I was younger, but I was a lot more productive when I was, working a semi-day job. I was self-employed before, and that was one of the things I liked about it. I had quite a bit of free time. So, on the drive to work, I'd be thinking about a project I could do when I got home. While I was working, I'd be thinking about a project that I could work on when I got home. And on the drive home, which was always pretty far from where I was living, because that's the nature of construction in this area anyway. You're always working maybe an hour away. So, drive to, drive back, time in between, all thinking about the project I could be doing when I got home. So when I got home, I was jazzed up for it and, really wanted to get into it. So I would spend more time after work doing a project actually than I do now, that I'm not going anywhere. Now I do a lot of thinking about projects, yes, and I do a lot more planning for projects than I did previously, because you have to, when you're making videos and you want the videos to do well, you know, you have to plan the project. Yeah. And a lot of times you'll have to build a prototype of the project before you build the real build. So you're doing it twice in some instances, so that you present something that looks good, that works well in the end, right? So yeah, all of this conspires to drain the fun out of the, you know, the actual activity of woodworking. So you're probably saying, well, is this the reason why you're not putting out very many videos now, John? And like I said in previous videos, it's always been my intention to eventually slow things down, not engage in the grind anymore. The grind is what was happening during the first, say, 10 years. I was on YouTube, where I would try to get out a full build project every single week, which is a phenomenal amount of work. It left me no free time for anything else. And, you know, I was thinking about the future, this being the future now, at that time, and saying, you know, there's going to be a point where you're going to be able to slow down and spend a little bit more time doing the things you enjoy doing. And I still love woodworking, you know, I still love it. It's the baggage that's been piled onto it that has made it less lovable for me. It makes me so, like, it makes it for me that I don't want to start a project because I've got all this other stuff to do. Now, it depends upon the project as well, right? And I have to say that over the years, I've become way more efficient at doing this other stuff. So, and part of that, I gotta say, and I talked about this a few videos back, part of that was doing the project in segments and then editing a video for that and putting it on Patreon and Locals for my supporters there to watch, so that they'll see the pieces of the project as they're done. And then what that does is it breaks up my editing time, right? And I can also, instead of looking at the big picture overall, like concentrating on that from start to finish, I can concentrate on segments of it. And that parcels it out, makes it a little bit more manageable mentally for me, so that, you know, I do a piece, that's done, wrapped up. I got the video done, wrapped up. All I need to do is do that 2 or 3 more times, maybe 4 more times, then compile all 4 of those or 3 of those videos into one video at the end, and that goes on YouTube on my main channel. So that has been a great help. I guess I'll wrap this one up by saying that it wasn't my intention for this to be depressing, especially for anybody and that is thinking about, you know, becoming a woodworker on YouTube. I'm just trying to give some perspective on what happens over the years when you're doing this. I started out with low expectations. When things started to take off for me, I was, you know, all for that. And I had the resources, like I was in a position that I could follow through on it, you know. I didn't have any responsibilities that kept me from doing that other than the work I was doing. And like I already said, that gave me lots of time to do this. So yeah, I'm just trying to say that, you know, there's always good with, there's always bad with the good, but it makes you appreciate the good. In order to appreciate things that are going well, then not going well would put things in perspective. You know, it's like, how do you appreciate the day if there's no night? And vice versa. How do you appreciate the night if there's no day? You know, it's the opposites that define the qualities of things that we enjoy. So while, you know, my time on YouTube has been a huge net positive, there is, especially now, that slight negative that creeps in, and that in effect will, you know, stop me from doing certain things.
You have a garbage disposal in your bathtub?
Oh yeah, and I use it all the time. Yeah, I made this whole meal in there.
This food was in the shower with you?
Mm-hmm. I prepared it as I bathed.
Oh, sure.
Fuck.